should sound.
Are now live.
All right. Alan, you can send a message in chat.
Oh, he's muted. Okay. Say it again.
Yeah.
No.
We don't hear you. You can chat it to everyone.
It's still in
Is there helium in that cup?
Oh, he disconnected.
Welcome to Garden of the Spirit, a class studying apples from the orchard. This class meets in Long Meadow, Massachusetts, the center of the universe, and is held in memory of Malka Ruth Pas Moshe, Margaret Vogel, blessed memory. Apples from the Orchard contain selections of teachings of Kabbalah from the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, based on the weekly Torah portion, superbly translated and explained by Rabbi Moshe Wisniewski. Alan, you want to try now? Okay, you guys are moving. Last week we started a story. We started a story of Rabbi Yossi Haglili. The verse is Moshiv Elokim Moshiv Yechidim Baisa. That Elokim settles individuals in a house. This was explained by Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Simon. The simple meaning refers to the Jewish people leaving Egypt. We arrived in Egypt as a small group and as individuals, and we left as a mighty nation. Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Simon relates it instead to the story of a noblewoman, Roman noblewoman, probably lived in Israel. She asked Rabbi Yossi Bar Chalafta. She said, "What does Hashem? How many days? How many days did Hashem make the world?" And he answered her 6. And then she said, "And what's he been doing since then?" And he answered that Hashem has been arranging matches, finding people who are appropriate with each other for marriage, and I guess also busy arranging that they should meet in all different circumstances that they should be able to meet. We asked about 10 questions on this, and we were explaining the answers. Not in how many days, but how many days, for how many days, meaning for how long is the world expected to last? Her question was really that if Hashem created the world in 6 days, it shouldn't be such a big deal to maintain it. We say this is indeed true. There are angels who administer the world, and it's much less complicated to run the world than it was to create it in the first place. I know. You see what goes on here, and you wonder. You may not agree with that, but that was her idea, and so Rabbi Yossi Haglili. Is Rabbi Yossi Haglili? Rabbi Yossi Bar Chalafta. Yeah, Rabbi Yossi Bar Chalafta, whose grave I was at in Israel, he didn't tell her that Hashem is running the world and supplying food for everyone and so on, but because that indeed would not be a full-time job. What is a full-time job is arranging matches. And not sure what we said, what we didn't say. We said that there are 2 levels. There is Ima, Bina, which corresponds to Elokim, and there is also the lower level, Ze'er Anpin. and the world is run through Ze'er Anpin. So she was asking, the world's running already with the lower levels, lower ministers. It's a little bit on autopilot. So what is the higher level doing? And that's the pasuk says Elokim Moshe v'chidim, that Elokim settles individuals together in the house, because Elokim refers to the higher level of Bina. You know, I don't think I have this open. Let me open my. I didn't mark where we stopped.
Top of one.
Top of 171.
Yes, but
Now he's in the. Oof.
Trying to close.
Very bad echo.
Alan, it's your iPhone.
I'm trying to get out of this thing.
Alan, you're breaking it. Look at it, it's Alan Square.
The word.
I'm in
There's
class.
now two Allens. Oh my Lord, holy cow. Oh my gosh. How will the world be able to handle this one?
My first day in class. Who fell off? Oh, it was Alan twice. My first day in high school.
Lucky devils, you.
Our English teacher, I'll never forget. Our English teacher, he came in. He said he couldn't find a parking space. It was a little far, and there's a dog chasing him. I don't know. Then he told a story about that he had a dream. In his dream, he heard someone calling, Gershon. Gershon. That's what it sounded like there. Okay.
Hey,
So I think this is where we stopped.
top of 171.
no, no,
I think it's number 24.
he's
I don't know about that.
he's nuts.
Okay. When Hashem created the world, he used Elokim, which resides primarily in Bina, with its function to impose structure, constraints, and properties. Once the world is created, it is run by the sixth spirit of Ze'er Anpin. The question of the noblewoman then was, if the world is run by the sixth spirit, what is the function of Bina once the initial act of creation is over? This is why she added the pronoun he. We said that. She said, Mahu Osa. What is he doing?
Excuse me.
Did we learn this already?
No, I don't remember it.
I have it highlighted, but I have it at number 20.
So isn't Bina Ima?
Bina is Ima and Elokim.
Okay, so she's, the matron is referring to Elohim, not to.
That what?
No, because you're saying it's a masculine pronoun, whatever. So it's not talking about Ima particularly or directly.
Correct. That is if you want to call it discrepancy.
Oh,
It's not a
message.
perfect match. She refers Mahu Osa, meaning the high level. What is he doing? Referring to Elohim. Yes, it's Bina, it's Ima, the feminine component. But this is one of the things. Okay, we're on 26. I find it here. Rabbi Yossi said Hashem sits. He's added the word Hashem sits and arranges matches to mean that he is not busy running the world, which is done by the angel, as we call him, Tron. Hashem was free to do other things. Rabbi Yossi did not say he, but he replied her HaKadosh Baruch Hu, implying that the world is conducted by Tron, but Bina is busy matching couples for marriage. Okay, so let's start at the top of 171.
Ready?
Yes, Alan, go ahead.
This is also why he told her, can you hear me better?
Yep.
That the Holy One, blessed be he, sits. he did not mean to imply that Hashem literally sits. Hashem, God forbid, for Hashem is not corporal, and the concept of standing and sitting do not apply to him. Rather, the intention was to answer her statement by saying that Hashem sits, that is idle, free from running all the details of life, these being handled by Tron, as we said. This is the meaning of his statement that the Holy One, blessed be he himself sits, occupies himself solely with making matches. So whereas the day-to-day running of the world is handled by Hashem's underling, Tron, who serves as an organizing principle to funnel divine beneficence downward, the task of orchestrating the events of life with divine providence in order to match up couples is handled by Ima.
Okay, hold on. All right. 28. Marriages are done according to people's deeds and character. It takes Elohim to judge and determine who is suitable for whom. Only Hashem, the true judge, is capable of this. Elohim, judgment, to determine and make decisions. Okay, go ahead, Ellen. The reason
he has to do this is because matches are arranged in accordance with divine justice, in accordance with the parties' merits, as we will explain. This being the case, no one can do this but him, since he alone is the one judge, and alone can assure that they will be accomplished fairly relative to the conditions of the hour.
Okay, thank you. Next. 28, we're going to get a little more complicated. We're going to turn up the heat here. 28. First marriages are preordained. When souls that were originally together and separated rejoin. I'm not sure what we mentioned last week when we didn't. These marriages are done with joy and goodwill. No coercion is necessary. These are the souls that were together, and then they separated, and now they're returning to each other. And so this is with great joy. When Rabbi Yossi said Hashem is busy arranging marriages, he actually was referring to second marriages. These are according to a person's deeds and character. Sometimes the person has to be forced into the second marriage because he feels he's entitled to a spouse who is more refined or better character than his destined mate. Actually, this spouse is appropriate based on his own deeds. And Hashem cares to find everyone a match and does not leave anyone out. Yes, why are you giving me a Volkswagen? I deserve a Lincoln. Okay, Jim, do you want to continue? True, in the middle of 171.
True, when the embryo is formed, the soul issues from its source, split into male and female. Therefore, the match is intrinsic. No further evaluation of who suits whom should be necessary. But this applies only to a person's first marriage. Certainly for such matches, no divine effort need to be expended, and such matches are not made against the parties' wishes, but rather with their full goodwill. But here, in the case the matron was asking about, we are talking about second marriages, where a person is given a spouse commensurate with what he has earned by his deeds. Thus, since a person has free choice to sin against his God, God has to scheme all kinds of schemes so that no one pushed away remain pushed away forever. Thus, the verse under discussion describes second marriages. And more remarkably, God, that is Ima, has occupied himself since creation with arranging second marriages. But the definition of a second marriage is broader than simply the second marriage in this lifetime, as we will now see.
Okay, 29. Okay, we're going to turn it up a notch again.
Very interesting.
Sometimes the second match occurs in another lifetime, and the original mate is not alive at this time. Thus, there can be a bunch of souls whose original mate is not alive now. And then Hashem matches up these strays or odd souls. And that is a very complicated objective. Okay. Yeah, Gershon, we'd like to continue. 172.
Such people become reincarnated, but they do not reincarnate as a couple. For sometimes he is reincarnated in one generation and she is in another, such that the reincarnated man needs to be matched up with a different reincarnated woman, who also lacks her original mate in this incarnation, who is similar to him in merits. Matching up such a couple is indeed a very difficult thing, inasmuch as they are different in nature, not having originated from the same soul root. It is therefore difficult to bring them together.
Hold on. I'm sorry, I call them stray souls. These stray souls are referred to as individuals by the verse, Elokim Moshiv Yechidim Baisa. Elokim settles individuals in houses. These are the couples who are paired against their will. While everyone is happy at the wedding, it's over the course of the marriage that problems occur. So that's why they're called individuals, because they're missing their destined partner. And so there's this individual who's astray, that individual is astray. Hashem puts them together. This is what gets very complicated. Okay, go ahead, Gershon.
These reincarnates are called individuals, literally singles, because each one is by itself separated from its real soulmate. Such marriages are referred to as being done against the parties' wills. This does not apply to the wedding. For them, everyone is happy on the day of their wedding and on the day of their hearts rejoicing. The difficulty lies only in sustaining the marriage.
Yeah. Okay. And I've given that speech many times or several times about people who are focused on the wedding, and the wedding has to be like this. And now they have a term for it, bridezilla. The vendors encourage the people to act childishly or petulantly or juvenile by choosing things for their wedding. It has to be like this, it has to be like that. Our photographer told us of the story that why he was such a tough cookie, because a girl came to him after the wedding and said, "You ruined my wedding. You ruined my life. I'm sorry. You ruined my life," because he missed the picture. And I saw our photographer Rudy at Yoel's wedding. I think he's Malia's some kind of cousin, so he was there at the beginning. He's since passed away. So, in any case, so people go, and the vendors want it because vendors make a lot more money. The magazines, the bridal shops, the flowers, photography, and so on and so forth. The whole. Okay. In any case, so I tell people the real thing, what's really important is the marriage. Focus more on the marriage, less on the wedding. Okay, so now 31. Most probably the matches the noblewoman made started off happy, but turned sour very quickly. I think in some sources it says like the next morning they all had a big line in front of her door with complaints. But it not, I guess not necessarily the next morning. Could be it happened over a while. One moment. Yes, okay. Abigail, will you continue as to the matches?
As to the matches, the matron made between the manservant and the maidservants, we may assume they first said something positive, but afterwards they fell into arguments, and she could not keep these marriages going.
Okay, and why none of these people were married, I don't know. 32 beforehand. 32. Maybe that was an indication by itself that there were issues. Okay, this is why it's a function of Elohim, because it's determined according to their deeds. It also says Elohim Moshiv. That means he settles or he makes them stay, because he makes them stay together in one house, even though they're not originally meant for each other. I may have mentioned before, in Hebrew, there are 7 forms of verbs, verb structures. Just to give you an idea what that means, 3 of them are active verbs and 3 of them are passive verbs. So there's an active verb and a matching passive verb, an active verb and a matching passive verb. Form of verb structure. So a total of 7. The one that's used here, Moshiv, is number 5. And 5 is in English called causative, causative structure. That means you cause something to happen. Moshiv means Hashem causes, or Elohim causes them to settle or to stay. In English, we also say he makes them stay, causes something to happen. This is the form of verb. For those who know, it is called hif'il or maf'il. Okay, continue, Abigail.
Therefore, the verse we have quoted refers to God as Elohim, for he judges these reincarnates according to his attribute of strict justice, in accordance with their deeds, and thereby makes these marriages endure. This is why the verse uses the idiom of making them sit for sitting, implies remaining, as in the verse, and you dwelt, literally sat, in Kadesh, which means that they stayed there. For God makes these people, who, as we said, are individuals, stay in one house, even against their natures. For their innate nature is to bond with their original soulmates.
Yeah, so thank you. So that verse, and you dwelt in Kadesh, is written in the Torah. Moshe in the last 5 weeks of Moshe's life, when he spoke the book of Devarim to the people, and he says you remained in Kadesh, but the word he uses is about Teshav. You sat, you stayed in Kadesh, Yamim Rabim, for many days. If I'm not mistaken, we sat there half of the time, almost half the time of the desert. We weren't constantly on the move. We were in Kadesh for 19 years. So that's what it means. Over there, the word sat means to stay or to remain. And here too, Elohim Moshiv, Hashem makes them stay together. Hashem makes them remain together. The 33. Thide and thide. This is also why there could be reward and punishment. It's the second marriage. And while they're happy at the wedding, they are rewarded for getting married. But afterwards, Hashem has to force them to stay together. This is why there could be a claim against them. Okay, continue. Abigail, bottom of 172.
This explains why there can be reward and punishment for fulfilling or neglecting the commandment to marry and procreate. For in a second marriage, the person first couples with his spouse of his own goodwill and volition, and he thereby acquires merit for fulfilling the commandment. And if he does not want to marry, he incurs punishment. But it is only after the marriage that God forces the couple to remain together in one house. This is the meaning of the verse. He causes individuals to dwell in the house, as we said. Makes it sound really appealing.
What do you mean? Second.
To a single person, this is not very appealing.
I will tell you, I know, I know people had a happy marriage. Like someone, I think it was 65, 70. And his wife was a wonderful, he was about probably 70-ish. His wife was also a wonderful person. And he went to, I guess maybe it was St. Kaddish, he went to this synagogue, conservative synagogue in Florida, and met someone there, and maybe was married within a year. Sometimes the kids aren't so happy with it, but someone's able to do that. It's they're trying to recreate the love that they had in the first marriage, often. Actually, I know someone, I don't know if you guys remember, I think someone got engaged within 6 weeks. 6 weeks after his wife died.
Oh,
Less than 2 months. So, and that's just like, I mean, I don't know. That very difficult, but I give people like that a lot of credit for being able to move on. There was a tailor on the Lower East Side named Han, and people would go to him to have their kapatas, the Shabbos long frock coat, the kapatas done. He was the original. And when I went to him, he was old, and he told me he makes kapatas for a lot of rebbes. And he said they stand there, they go, humph, humph. And he said he also measures the Lubavitcher Rebbe. So he said, first of all, that when the Rebbe stands for the fitting, that he stands straight, but his natural stance is one shoulder an inch higher than the other. So he takes that into account when he makes the kapata. He knows to do one side an inch shorter. But he said that the Rebbe always asks him how he's doing and takes an interest in him. And he told the Rebbe that his wife died. And the Rebbe asked, and he said to the Rebbe, people are asking me about getting remarried. They're making suggestions. And he said he didn't know what to do, to be, I don't know, 70, 75 and to get married again. It's, you're coming in with issues, medical issues. And he said that the Rebbe encouraged him to go for it and take the plunge.
Mm.
So that it's obviously a very difficult situation to be in. Oh no. Okay, I gotta plug in, guys. Thoughts. I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts on this. I'm opening the floor. Okay, I got it. And the other thing is, I think it seems like it gives a few answers here. It's talking about second marriages. Where the person that they're intended for isn't around, or first marriage where the intended person is not around. It's someone that they were married to in an earlier reincarnation. I don't know.
So
In any case, guys, I'd like to hear your thoughts. We're not going to go on to the next chapter today.
I have a question. So why are there bachelors?
Don't know. I don't know. It's one of the things that remains unanswered here.
Yeah, and divorces from your first marriage.
So what this does say is that marriage involves some work to make one stay in one house. That's the judgment and reward and punishment piece that comes to bear. And I think that since this is most of us, let's put it this way, start off as so-called individuals, in whatever reincarnation we're in, that second marriage becomes something that we're really engaged with, and to sustain it, because we don't really have our original soulmate. We have what we think is that, that we do need to work and deal with merits to stay together. And that's why it's difficult, and Hashem has to sit as the judge in making marriages, and deal with life in as fair and possible way as he can. So we are dwelling in that house with the merits of Hashem, but we still have to work very hard to maintain ourselves in that house. So I think we're all in the second marriage process to some extent, without getting too romantical about it. I think that real marriage, at least I've seen it, and it can be unbelievably rewarding, involves change and evolution and adaptation and growth and work, and becoming a more refined individual oneself and as a couple. So.
I'm going to say to that, true, but both have to be on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If one of them is working towards a successful marriage and the other one isn't,
It's not going to work.
yeah,
Then
you're in big trouble.
You don't have a house then. There's no longer a house. That's where the divorce comes. The house breaks up.
My response to that is it depends, because look at Yaakov Avinu and his marriage. He got married, he thought he was getting Rachel. Instead, he got Leah. And I've often pondered as to why he could have very easily said, you know what, I divorce you. You weren't my first choice. Now, yes, there were extraneous measures. He was living in his father-in-law's house. Who knows, he might have hung him up outside somewhere. But he didn't divorce her. He didn't love her as intensely as he did with Rachel, right?
Yaakov is kind.
There is a case where a man stayed with a woman for alternate reasons, perhaps. Because we know from the Arizal, Leah was really a soulmate because she's the one that balanced them out, right?
Right. But he had to work. He had to do
chapter.
that work. There was so much work involved with that process for him to ultimately get to the place where he could join with Leah as his ultimate soulmate. He certainly couldn't before he wrestled the angel of Esau, and he had to transform and go through a lot of refinement before he could be with her, and look, and he was buried with her. All right.
She certainly wasn't happy, right? We know that.
She certainly wasn't. No, she wasn't happy, but she. I don't know. She was ultimately, as you said,
she didn't want out of the marriage.
She didn't want out of marriage, and she ultimately. I remember. I think he joined with her back in Israel. In that once he was elevated up to her level.
He's buried with her, right?
Yeah, he's buried in Machpelah. He's buried.
And he only had 2 children with 2 of the tribes with Rachel, but he had 6 with Leah.
Yeah.
And a girl.
Right. And Diana. Can't remember. So,
Anything else? Any other thoughts?
So I had a thought that when there's a Torah that feels a little awkward, which this feels a little bit awkward, that you look to see what else it might mean on a different level. So human marriage is a reflection of what God and the Jews at Sinai, right? And could this be saying that after creation, what has he been doing? He's been dealing with the Jewish people.
Okay, I mean, we are the,
Kala. He's been, well,
we're the
I don't know.
spouse.
Do you think it, I don't know.
Interesting.
What is marriage? What else is marriage? I don't know what marriage is. Maybe it's Zeranpin connecting with Malchus, which he has
Yes.
been doing, that has been going on, that up and down.
Yes.
Because that's not, is that creation? Would you say that the flow from above to below is creation being created, or it's a separate?
It's what sustains creation. Like your heart needs to keep pumping. It doesn't stop.
So.
That's what we just said, that the creation itself would come from Bina,
Right.
but it's maintained through Zeranpin and Malchus.
But there's also like the dynamic that if you do a mitzvah, heaven gives you a reward of a greater flow below. And then if you respond to that with more good deeds, more mitzvahs, then there's even a greater flow down.
Yes.
So there's more than just sustaining.
We have this a lot, this idea that that the flow can be just a basic, or a, what's the word? A subsistence, just enough to keep the world going, or that there's a strong flow with we refer to it as a lot of blessings, as a strong, proper flow.
An immature and a mature flow.
Yes, we had a lot of terms for it. Okay, I'm gonna stop the stream. So thank you all. Stay on the meeting though, please. But everyone out there in